Greetings and welcome to the Halloween edition of the Sliders Review. And I'm here today to talk to you about The Exorcist Season 1. So this came out in 2016. I've already talked about the first episode. Go watch that. It was created by Jeremy Slater. And so this was my first real true introduction into the franchise of The Exorcist. I still have not seen any of the other movies, any of the spin-offs, any of the knockoffs and everything. However, I was curious, and so a couple of nights ago I went to go watch clips from like the first movie, and I also watched one clip from the second movie where it's like an evil like Reagan and stuff like that, and she's being exorcised and all this other stuff. I gotta say the special effects in that room when it was breaking and everything was shaking was great. And to think that it was done practically and stuff, that's amazing. And so I've never really seen like any of The Exorcist before. The closest I've ever really came was in Scary Movie 2 and in one episode of Hercules. And so like I knew what The Exorcist was and everything. I know who like Linda Blair was and everything. First time I saw her was a cameo in the first Scream movie, and then I saw her in S Club 7 season 2 and I think season 3. And so like I know that like when it came to a television show, it was reported that she was upset that she was never contacted for it. And also Peacock is making their own trilogy of The Exorcist, and they brought back the mom for the first movie, but they're not bringing back Linda Blair as of now. And in fact, she doesn't understand why they won't bring her back. And she has stated like, they never brought it up. She even had a phone call with them where they talked about how the mom is coming back, but they never invited her. It's weird she's been blacklisted from a franchise that made her career and everything, that scared the minds of so many people back in the day. And so like it's just odd and strange. And you think she'll at least pop up in one of them, but she hasn't. She hasn't been seen in the Exorcist movie since the second one. Many people say it's one of the worst movies ever made. It doesn't even have a cult following to this day. Like, how bad could it have been? And stuff. And so, like, yeah. So when this show came out, I was definitely gonna watch it and stuff. And I always thought it was weird that, it was on Fox. I'm just kind of like, how are they gonna get away with doing all this stuff? Like I said before, I still think it would have been better if it was on cable TV or streaming. Then they could have had like cussing and blood and stuff like that, and a whole lot more gory type stuff. But they had to like, tone it down for a television audience. I think they did very well for what they was able to accomplish in season 1. In season 2, I wasn't really feeling the story. It was mostly just a retread of season 1, but with a different family and stuff. And sadly, it got canceled after 2 seasons because of low ratings. Fox, I don't know what's been going on with Fox in the last decade or so, but they've been struggling to keep their shows on, even those that are pretty good. And if they give them a second season, it's normally like a pity season that they give them, a pity renewal and stuff. And so, like, I remember Scream Queens and everything. I loved the first season, but the ratings weren't great. And then they got a second season and it was terrible and it got canceled. And a lot of their shows have been the same, and some of their shows can't even get past the first season. I don't know what happened to Fox. They used to be the edgiest television network of all time, but other ones are outdoing them now. And I still feel like this would have been better if it was on cable television, something like Sci-Fi or FX, where they can use dirty language and have a whole lot more blood and gore and guts and stuff. And so, because if you've never seen Van Helsing, boy, they really let the blood fly in that more than The Walking Dead. However, like I said, I think Fox did a pretty good job. Each season is 10 episodes. It has that weird new age filter to it where it's kind of like muted. kind of like a metal rusty kind of color, a fiery, like, something set ablaze type filter to it. And it kind of works, kind of doesn't. I get really tired of seeing this filter. It was in like the Evil Dead remake in 2013. I'm just getting tired of that like filter. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And so there was a huge twist in this that nobody saw coming. And the cast is great. Everybody can act. All the characters, every character in this show is unique and interesting. That's the great thing. Normally when you have a show, but there's one character that kind of lacks. She started off interesting, but then she just got boring after a while. And that was Kate. Or Cat, I should say. She started off very interesting, but then she just kind of got boring after a while. But every character has something really juicy to them that you can like sink your teeth into, and that's what you need for a show. This show also created like a subplot or this type of cult that's within the Catholic community and everything. And I don't know how fans feel about that. When they introduced this cult, then it became more of a conspiracy theory action type thing. And that probably deterred like a lot of people and stuff. That they was all kind of like, was this really necessary? This whole conspiracy theory thing. Now, when it comes to the cult, I found them interesting. I wanted this story to progress more, and it kind of did throughout the season. But when it came to season 2, the question was, what direction were they going to go into? Were they going to keep with the exorcism type stuff? Or were they going to do the whole cult thing? Well, like I said before, it was just a retread of season 1. They did both. It was the exorcism of a different family, and it was the cult stuff. I don't know if that's what sealed its fate. I think it probably would have been better if they were to make the spin-off with the whole cult thing. That way, then it could have its action conspiracy theory thing while keeping the show self-contained with horror and possession and exorcism and stuff. For the most part, in season 1, even though I do enjoy season 1, there are way too many quiet moments in season 1. And that's because it's a television series and they want backstory, character development and stuff. And they need time for people to like relax and calm down. The best episodes, in my opinion, is episode 1 and episode 5. Episode 1 is setting everything up, and then episode 5 is when we actually get to the exorcism. And because episode 4 at the ending was beautifully set up. They're preparing the room. They're getting mattresses and like, cushions and stuff. And they're putting it on the walls of the room. They put a chain on the floor and they're getting ready to do what they do best and stuff. And then episode 5 is that. Episode 8 is really good as well. And pretty much anything that has to do with the exorcism is like awesome and everything, because that's what people are here to see. They want to see that. Now, was the exorcism conducted as cool as like the clips I saw in the movie? Yes and no. Seriously, I don't care what anybody says. As soon as you have a possessed demon child person thing, whatever, and you got some holy people like shouting from the good book, whether you want to hear it or not. Like even people who are not churchgoers, like when you hear that stuff and the way they shouting it, and they're like, in the room and walls are shaking and they're like splashing the holy water and all this stuff, it just looks cool and it gets you hype and everything. It literally makes you want to go to church. Even people who don't want to go and stuff, like it gets you hype and everything because it's something different. It's this unholy natural thing, and it's like all this crazy stuff, Now, I will say there are like once in a while you see like stuff flying around in the show, but mostly it's just people flying around bouncing off the walls and everything from the demon Pazuzu and stuff like that. Yes, Pazuzu comes back and everything from that of the movie, but for the most part, Yeah, the camera does shake and the walls and the room stuff look like it's moving, but it has a flow to it. The way it seems so natural, you really don't notice it like in the movie. I would prefer if they shook it around like in the movie, because you saw like the bed shake, you saw the person shake. You see the people tumbling around, you see stuff flying around. It was just executed better in the movie, whereas in the TV show, everything look like it's just like all moving at the same time. Nothing's being distorted, and you don't even see like the bed or the mattress or whatever like shaking like crazy and stuff. It was that visual presence that the movie had that made it so eye appealing and everything. It was something you could sink your teeth into, whereas the TV show didn't necessarily do that great of a job. So it sucked that the bed wasn't rumbling, the bed didn't try to like come off the ground. Um, I will say the makeup department, yeah, it did look good in the show, but they still just look like normal people. It's a problem I also had in the Evil Dead 2013 remake, where the Deadites just looked like people with makeup on their face. There was no real prosthetics, so that kind of like lacked. It had that modern day possessed demon soul look kind of thing. Not as cool as back in the day when they put heavy prosthetics on people and made them look ghoulish and stuff. um Linda Blair, like my God, like she acted her butt off in that movie. Now I can't remember how old she was. I think she was 14, and just the way she was laying on the bed and just kind of like in that somber state, just staring at you, it had like this appeal to it. It had this eeriness to it, this feel. Whereas the show, not necessarily and stuff. But back to those quiet moments. I feel the finale in season one lacked. The finale was a combination of three things. Well, four things actually. It was Father Tomas going through like a nightmarish type state where like the demon is like trying to make him like go away and stuff. Then you had the stuff with Pazuzu and the mother and stuff. And then you had the stuff with Father Marcus and Bennett being tied up by that cult. And then you have the cult themselves trying to take out the Pope and stuff. It was just too much going on in the finale, trying to wrap everything up. And because of that, there was too many quiet moments with all that other stuff, and the Pazuzu stuff really didn't like linger on that much. And it was quite a shame. So it was kind of like a lackluster finale and stuff. And so when it comes to this show, even the possessed person, the girl, Casey and stuff, doesn't even stay possessed that long. And when she is, it's more like, her doing rebellious type stuff that Pazuzu is making her do. And then when she does do like the possession type stuff, it's kind of like, it's creepy and it's eerie and it reminds you of the movie, but it just feels more like an actual girl rebelling, being told to do this by this demon, as opposed to like the demon inside a girl, like doing all the crazy stuff. Because one thing they showed a lot in this, I don't know if it was effective or not, is that we saw her get influenced by Pazuzu. He literally stood next to her as an old man, telling her do this, do that, filling her up and kissing her and all kind of stuff. So it had that modern flair to it that I don't necessarily think resonated with fans of the original movie and stuff. And I think it's more appealing when the thing is actually in the girl and we can't see the person influencing them and she's like doing stuff. Then came the twist that nobody saw. And I had to go look this up on the internet because I didn't know what the world was going on. And stuff. And so like basically what happened is somebody led the father to like a Bible, and the Bible had like an inscription in it from Angela's mother. Angela is the mom in this show. She is the one who calls up Father Tomas to like exorcise the demon in her house because she hears stuff in the walls. She thinks it's first Cat because Cat's acting weird, but it's actually Casey. So, like at some point in time, when the father is doing all this stuff, and both the pastors are trying to exorcise the demon out, um, the dad looks at a Bible. He sees an inscription. We don't know what's is read in this inscription in the Bible. There's a red feather. I still don't know what the symbolism of the red feather is because I've never seen the first movie. And then so she's talking to Father Tomas and everything. No. She's talking to her husband. He's all like, "Who are you?" and everything and stuff. Like, who are you really? Because she's been holding a dark secret and stuff, but we really didn't know that. And so 'cause it never built up to it. And so she's telling him that, my mother exploited me, anything she can do to make a buck off me and everything, and what happened to me years ago. And she reveals that she just wanted a normal life, and she knew she would never have that in college. So she changed her name to Angela, but she reveals that her real name is Reagan McNeil, the girl from the first movie who was possessed by the demon. And so I had to look this up because I didn't know what the world this was. I was like, holy crap. It's the Linda Blair character, but played by Gina Davis and everything. And I'm all like, holy crap. So the demon still wants her, but is going after her daughter. That was an amazing twist that blew everybody's mind. So the television show is a direct sequel to the first movie, and the first movie only. It retcons everything that came after it and just erases it from like existence and everything. And so while she is explaining this to him, we see a person get out of a taxi cab wearing a long jacket and a fedora hat. And they walking up to the door, very similar to that of the first movie. They knock on the door. I'm assuming it could be the pastors from the first movie, but no, both those two guys died before. I think one died before. One died in the 90s. And the other one died, I think, in 2020, maybe. So he could have showed up if he wanted to. But no, it's actually her mom and everything. Her mom has become like, this person trying to make a buck off her, like she said, exploiting her story and everything. So she distanced herself from her mom. So they had this chaotic, like, rumblings throughout the show and everything, until finally when the mom decides, you know what, I'm just gonna do best for what's my family and stop trying to like exploit them and everything. And so, like I said before, this was a twist that came out of nowhere. And so this now explains why Linda Blair is not in the show. If she would have been in the show, it would have been a dead giveaway and everything. So I understand the thought process in that, and that's why Gina Davis took over the role and everything. But, I still think it would have been better for nostalgia's sake if they would have brought in Linda Blair. But like I said before, if they would have done that, it would have been completely like everybody was like, oh, okay, I know exactly who she is, even though she's going by a different name. And so it was clever on the writer's part. And so with the rest of this show, like I said before, the dad, he has a concussion injury from scaffolding falling on him. Kat is kind of like the rebellious girl, but then she becomes like very tame after this. Casey is the one possessed, and Angela is really Reagan. And so they call upon Father Tomas, who originally was doing the exorcism, but he needed help. He got Father Marcus to help him out. And Father Marcus is very unorthodox. He even pulled a gun on Father Benedict and everything. He's very, very, very unorthodox to the point where they strip him of like, his rank and stuff. And when he was first helping with Tomas, Tomas became susceptible to that of the demon and everything, to the point where he started making out with Casey. Marcus told him, used to me, you've been tainted, you're weak, and he doesn't want his help. He's all like, you are not an exorcist and everything. So then he starts doing everything on his own. But Kat's all like, cause see, the Catholic Church and all his members all like, she's not possessed, she's just mentally ill, put her in the crazy house. And so this is what Kat believes. So she calls the police and the ambulance and everything. Casey is able to escape. She flees. Marcus is then arrested and everything. While in the ambulance, Casey kills all the paramedics and then ripping them apart and damages the ambulance thing. This causes the town people to be pissed. They're all like, what is this girl? Is she a demon? And blah, blah, blah. Is she a murderer? So the Rance family can't even leave their home because there's a mob outside of protesters and stuff. And so it's making things very difficult. And Casey is still missing. Benedict bails out Marcus. He also sends Marcus on like a little bit of a field trip to find these sisters of a Catholic church who also exorcise demons from people, but they are unable to. One thing that so when he finds Casey, he tries to drown her at first, but isn't able to. So then he calls on the help of Tomas, and Tomas is pissed. He's like, oh, I'm not good enough for exorcism, but I'm like your getaway driver and everything. So they go to the church, and this is where the rest of the exorcism is conducted. Marcus does not want the family to know that Casey is here. Marcus, Tomas, and the sister nuns are doing their best to get the demon out. But if the demon is not able to integrate with the host, it ends up killing it. So they have to hurry and do that before, Pazuzu takes Casey's life. They are unable to. The sisters are like, we need to poison her, kill her so she can die and be in peace, and the demon would like leave or whatever, stuff like that. Marcus does not want to do that. Tomas is willing, but then he goes to the family and tells them, hey, we have your daughter and stuff like that, because he feels they should be by her side. This pisses off and angers that of Marcus. And so like the family, the mother is there in the room trying to help and everything, reading from the Bible. And so at some point, off camera, did not know this happened. They're able, but well, the demon, apparently something happened where the mother made a deal with the demon off camera, and it goes inside her, leaving the body of Casey. Casey is now normal and everything. And, she feels terrible about the stuff she did and all this other stuff. And that was another twist coming where we didn't know the mom was possessed until like the next episode. And then it shows how. So this is when things start to get a bit more quiet and a little bit uninteresting, but more interesting. Now, the demon has fully integrated in that of Reagan. That's who he really wanted all along. So now it's more like, he's making the family's life like torturous and everything. He is literally torturing them. He causes the sister to smash the other sister's knee, but she won't do it. So then like she just smashes her own knee. So Kat is taken out with a knee injury. The dad's constantly getting tossed around the room. It's interesting, but it's a little uninteresting. They should have upped the ante on the torture more. And so like at this point, Marcus has been taken by like the cult. Let's get into them a little bit. The cult is literally a bunch of pastors and priestesses and stuff like that. I forgot what there's something of the Ascension or something like that. I forget their name, but basically what they do is they take people who are possessed and they murder them, and they take their limbs and everything and certain organs. Then they put it in an incinerator, and they eat the ash and they absorb the ash. They throw it up in the air. A demon comes out and it gets sucked into their mouth. I don't get it, but whatever. This is the whole conspiracy theory type thing. And they want to kill the Pope, and they want to infect more. They want to bring more people into their organization. It does make the show a bit more interesting, I will say. So they capture Bennett and Marcus. Bennett, he ain't no lackey and everything. When they first tried to capture him and everything in the beginning, when he was investigating and stuff, he killed a bunch of possessed people who were possessed by demons and stuff. And he literally straight up murdered them and everything like a ninja. So this is kind of weird seeing a pastor go to that extreme. So then when they're both captured, they kind of betrayed the female priestess lady. And so she's all like, screw it. She's just going to absorb some ash and let it absorb into them. And they break themselves free and they escape and everything. And when it comes to that of Tomas, he is a sinner. When he back in the day, he had an affair with a married woman. She's now left that man, but he still clickety clacks with her and everything. And so he's fornicating because he's doing it without being married and stuff. And when it comes to Marcus, his father killed his mom. He had a bad upbringing. He was adopted. He had to perform his first exorcism when he was like 7 or like a teenager or something like that. Now, one thing Pazuzu tells him is that like, oh, I didn't think women were your taste. It turns out he's bisexual and everything. We find that out in the second season and stuff. And so back with the family, so Marcus is doing the thing, escaping. He's trying to save the Pope and everything. And so Marcus is able to slit the throat of like one of the crazy cult people with a cross of all things. See, everybody at that point in time was having their ears hurting, ringing, falling to the ground, collapsing. He's able to withstand it and slit the dude's throat. The Pope sees all his blood shattered on his, like his door window and stuff, his car window, and like he's freaked out. And so he escapes. The Pope is safe. Marcus is like limping away and everything. The rest of the cult members are like leaving. And so now we get back to the house of Reagan and them. So the demon went to go Will Smith like the daughter in the face, and so when Pazuzu tried to slap one of the daughters, he was unable to because Reagan was still inside his mind. He didn't fully get to her. Basically, inside her mind, she has trapped herself in a room. And so she's there crying on the floor, and he's all like, let me in, or I'll kill your family, stuff like that. Well, Tomas is able to break out of his like brainwashing state that Pazuzu put him in. And so we finally hear the words we've been wanting to hear all stinking season, is that the power of Christ will compel you and everything. And he's doing his exorcism thing, and he has his cross. And so at this point in time, Pazuzu is getting weak, and Angela or Reagan or whatever inside the mind is getting stronger. So Pazuzu knows that he's losing the fight, so he decides, all right, well, it's time to kill the host. As like she's being lifted in like the air and everything, Pazuzu snaps her back and everything, leaving her paralyzed. But inside the mind, she is stronger. They're reciting Bible verses and stuff. She locks him into that room and closes the door, and he is now defeated and stuff. So Tomas and Marcus, they decide what they're gonna do next. Should they go their own separate ways? Should they keep exercising people? And the cult is still out there doing what they're doing. And then the Rance family, they now have moved from their home until like out in the countryside where they can be alone. And now Angela / Reagan is now paraplegic. Her mom died by the hand of Pazuzu / Angela. Also, the sister nun also died too and everything because Pazuzu got her and everything. And so, like I said before, it's a very interesting season. Some things work, some things don't. There are too many quiet moments in this season that kind of just takes you away when all you want to see is the exorcism. Basically, in episode 8 or 9 is the last time you see it, and we get like a brief exorcism in episode 10. From episode 5 to 10, probably they really should have went back and forth with the exorcism and that of like the cult stuff. And so, like, I don't know, the mom being possessed and torturing just wasn't, like, strong enough, I feel like. It should have been, like, more. So I can understand why fans of the movie was kind of, like, irritated by that. But all in all, season 1 is pretty solid. Season 2 is all right, don't get me wrong, but it just kind of doesn't have that bite that season 1 had. That wasn't that spooky. All right, well, I shall talk to y'all later. Bye.